So very good afternoon. So from Group 1 for Business Research Final Project. So the topic that we took is remote work of public sector employees in the National Archives of Malaysia, which is known as now. So I'm Pavineshmi Agis Kumar.
So good afternoon, my name is Rajesh. I like to be Good and good afternoon, madam. I am KT Sekadirawan. Good afternoon, madam. My name is Amish Kale. Good afternoon. My name is Justin Edika.
So these are my teammates. I think you should continue next study. Okay, so employees can work outside the office by using technology such as laptops, internet access, video calls, and online communication. They don't have to go to the office and work there. So the second is remote work gives public sector employees more flexibility where they can adjust the timing based on their everyday lifestyle or maybe the daily occurrence that they face. So the last one is many government Malaysia introduced remote worker practices to maintain productivity and support employees during changing work environment.
So now I will present the problem statement for our research titled Remote Work Among Public Sector Employees in the National Archives of Malaysia. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the adaptation of remote work in the public sector and significantly changed traditional work practices. Employees were required to work from home using digital technologies and online communication platforms. Although remote work provides flexibility and helps organizations continue operations during crisis, its effectiveness is maintaining employees' performance is still uncertain. Many public sectors organizations were not fully prepared for this sudden transition. Issues such as inconsistent policies, inadequate infrastructure, and difficulties in maintaining productivity became major challenges during remote work. In addition, ineffective communication in remote work environments may lead to misunderstandings, reduced collaboration, and lower employee performance. Employees are also face challenges in balancing work responsibilities and personal life while working from home. Besides that, insufficient technology support such as unstable internet access and limited digital tools may affect employees' ability to perform their tasks effectively. Therefore, this study aims to examine how work flexibility, work-life balance, and technological support and communication effectiveness influence employee performance during remote work among public sectors. So I will explain the research. So I will explain the main purpose of this research to understand how remote work affects employee performance among public sector employees in the National Archives of Malaysia. So the first research objective is to analyze the level of work flexibility, work-life balance, technological support, and communication effectiveness toward employee performance during the remote work. So the second objective is to assess the relationship between work flexibility, work-life balance, technological support, and communication effectiveness toward employee performance during work. So the third research objective is to suggest ways to improve employee performance during remote work. So for next, the research questions. The first research question is, what is the level of work flexibility, work-life balance, technological support, and communication effectiveness toward employee performance? So the second research question is, what is the relationship between work flexibility, work-life balance, technological support, and communication effectiveness toward employee performance? So the third question is how to improve the employee performance.
So now I will present about the significance of the study, why our study is important. First, this research study provides insights into public sector organizations in Malaysia and how to maintain employee performance during remote work. Furthermore, this research study helps civil servants in Malaysia to improve job satisfaction during remote work. Lastly, this research may also be useful to improve remote work environment for all Malaysian public organizations. We believe that this research may improve the overall quality of remote work within the Malaysian public sector. Second chapter, literature review. So I would now explain regarding the dependent variable and it is employee performance. We have at least 3 research articles that we used in order to comprehend the dependent variable of employee performance. So the first article is published in 2022 and is written by Jones et al. The findings indicate that public sector employees adapted well to remote work. Due to remote work, these employees have been able to learn new skills. The gap or the difference between our study and this study is that the study examined employee satisfaction instead of employee performance. We examined employee performance, this study examined employee satisfaction instead. The second study was published in 2025 and is authored by Kam et al. The findings indicate that the implementation of remote work remains a challenge. Furthermore, remote work implementation flattens the organizational structure, meaning that the hierarchy of organization that we always know is kind of diminished during remote work, according to this study. The gap between our study and this study is that this study examines management effectiveness, operational goal achievement, and management control systems during remote work, focusing much more on how the executive side of remote work, how the management of a company or organization views remote work. The last article is published in 2026 and is authored by Adinolfi et al. The findings indicate that remote work does not affect public sector employees' motivation and achievement. Instead, remote work improves the effectiveness of public services. The gap between our research and this research is that this study utilized story genres to interpret employees' remote work experiences. Next, I will explain the first independent variable, and that is work flexibility. We have 3 articles also, same as before. The first article that we reviewed was published in 2022 and is authored by Ruzel et al. The findings indicate that the intensity of remote work has a positive impact on job satisfaction, a negative impact on engagement, and a non-significant impact on worker performance. The gap between this research and our research is that the study did not measure work flexibility as we did. The second article was published in 2025, authored by Kim and Park. The findings indicate that organizational support positively affects meaningful work, remote working, and work-life balance. Additionally, remote work enhances employees' work-life balance. The difference between this study and our study is that it involves subjects from both the private and public sector of South Korea, and not exclusively in the public sector such as ours. The last article was published in 2025, authored by Ahmed et al. The findings indicate that training and development and work-life balance influence employee engagement and job performance. The gap between this study and our study is that this article did not examine remote work and work flexibility.
Hi, madam. My name is Somesharan Tanasivan, and I'm going to present about the third summary empirical study, that technological support. Okay, right. So in the year 2022, the author is NGPML lead. So the finding is remote work possibly impact job performance, but does not have any relationship with emotional exhaustion. So it's all about the remote work, the work from home, the relationship with work from home, and then emotional exhaustion is not related. So yeah, the gap between our research and this research is this study uses the technology organization environment TOE framework to examine the variables. All right. So the second year is 2024, and the author is Alam AA. So the finding is remote work possibly influence employee productivity and job satisfaction. So the technological support may enhance the positive impact of remote work. So it defined as the remote work from home. It's positively influence the performance of employees, and they get satisfaction in their job.
in their job term. So technological power like the net and what we call that, the tools, the materials that can help work from home as its own big and positive impact in remote work. So the gap between the gap of this I think the findings is the studies uses the structural equation modeling SEM to analysis the data. So the third one is in year 2021, and the author name is Camarena LUC. Sorry. So the author name is Camarena LUCF, and the finding is public sector managers are likely to experience technology stress. Techno stress due to the use of information and communication technology in the government. So it refers to the managers of public sectors experiencing technological stress when they are into the technology. They get into the techno stress world. It is because the use of the information and communication technology in the government. I mean the what we call that the control and the rules that are ruled by the government. So it's a bit challenging for them. So that's stated in the findings. So the gap is the gap focus on the implementation of information and communication technology as a whole. So it's all about plan the informations and the communication earlier in the technologies and learn on it as a whole part, as a what we call that as a main part, so that we can so that public sector managers can prevent from this kind of problem like techno stress or getting into stress when it comes to the communication and information technologies in the government sector.
So, good afternoon, madam. In this section, we review several empirical studies that highlight the importance of communication effectiveness in remote work environments. Firstly, a study conducted by Wenzenegger found that effective communications plays a crucial role in ensuring smooth coordination and teamwork among employees working remotely. Without proper communication channels, employees may face difficulties in understanding tasks which can negatively affect overall performance. In addition, research by Contreras emphasized that the quality of communication directly influences collaboration, trust, and productivity within organizations. When communication is clear, uh, timely, and well structured, employees are more likely to stay engaged and perform their tasks efficiently even when working from different locations. Furthermore, a study from Buffington et al. Highlighted that transparent and open communication helps to reduce misunderstandings and strengthens employee engagement. This is especially important in remote work settings where face-to-face interaction is limited and employees rely heavily on digital communication tools. However, despite these important findings, most of the existing studies mainly focus on the private sector with very limited attention given to public sector organizations. This creates a research gap, particularly in understanding how communication effectiveness impact employee performance in government institutions. Therefore, this study aims to address this gap by examining communication effectiveness in National Archive of Malaysia, providing more relevant insights for public sectors in Malaysia.
I'm going to explain about the summary of empirical study for work-life balance. So the first article is the year is published during 2022. The author is Petra Horvatova, Katerina Mokra, Gabriel Polakova. The findings are where they relate work-life balance with organizational support and communication help remote workers maintain work-life balance. It's where their employees subordinate support each other to get a better outcome of their work. So the next one is published during the 2025, Elisa Jones, Mark Gebay, and Nahid Tahir. So this article explains about the remote work flexibility improves employee well-being and job satisfaction. So the article explains about how flexibility allows the employees to fill in their works during their free time instead of packing in all in a space where maybe they can reduce the work and performance. So the studies that we made, study mainly discussed remote workers generally and did not specifically analyze work flexibility among employees at the National Archive of Malaysia. So the last one is Meraki L, where it is published on in the year 2022, where this article explains about work-life balance improves employee motivation and productivity, where his articles mentioned that where this flexibility and the time according to the time given to the employees according to the flexibility is very easy for the employees to fill in the jobs that they have to do. However, the research did not focus on remote workers in Malaysian public sector organization, as our company we chose is National Archive of Malaysia, where employees may experience different work environments and challenges.
Next, I will explain the theoretical framework of the study. The theoretical framework shows the relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variables. In this study, the dependent variable is employee performance. The independent variables are work flexibility, work-life balance, technological support, and communication effectiveness. The framework explains that these four factors may influence employee performance among public sector employees who are working remotely. First, work flexibility allows employee to manage their work schedules and tasks more efficiently, and flexible work arrangements may increase employee motivation, satisfaction, and productivity. Second, the work-life balance. It helps the employee reduce the stress and maintain a healthy balance between work responsibilities and personal life. And the employees with better work-life balance are expected to perform better in the remote work environments. The third independent variable, technological support, which refers to the availability of digital tools, internet access, and technical assistance. Good technological support helps the employees to complete their tasks efficiently and communicate effectively while working remotely. And last, the communication effectiveness is important because employees rely on digital communication platforms such as emails, online meeting, and messaging systems during the remote work. Effective communication helps the employees coordinate the tasks clearly and improve their teamwork. So next, I will explain the research hypothesis for this study. So the hypotheses were developed to examine the relationship between the independent variables and employee performance during remote work. So the first hypothesis states that there is no significant relationship between work flexibility and employee performance. The second HO states that there is no significant relationship between work flexibility and employee performance. The third one states that there is no significant relationship between work-life balance and employee performance. The third one states that there is no significant relationship between technological support and employee performance. Lastly, HO4 states that there is no significant relationship between communication, effectiveness, and employee performance. These hypotheses will help determine whether the selected factors significantly influence employee performance during remote work or not. So that's all.
Chapter 3, Research Methodology.
I'll explain the research design used in this study. Research design refers to the overall plan and structure used to conduct the research systematically. This study uses a mixed method which combines both quantitative and qualitative methods. For the quantitative method, the questionnaires will be distributed to 100 to 150 employees from the National Archives of Malaysia. The questionnaires are used to collect numerical data related to employee performance, work flexibility, work-life balance, and technological support, and the communication effectiveness. The quantitative data will be analyzed using the descriptive analysis and correlation analysis. Descriptive
analysis helps explain the level of each variable, which correlation analysis is used to identify the relationship between the variables. For the qualitative method, which is interview and focus on group discussions, will be conducted with selected employees and stakeholders. This method helps the researchers gain that deeper understanding about the experiences, opinions, and challenges faced during the remote work. In addition, the strength, weakness, and opportunities analysis and the thematic analysis will be used to analyze the qualitative findings. For the SWOT analysis helps to identify strength, weakness, and opportunities traits related to the remote work practices.
So for research objective 1, our main aim is to analyze the level of several key factors that influence employee performance during remote work. These factors include work flexibility, work-life balance, technological support, and communication effectiveness. To achieve this objective, we adopted a quantitative research approach as it allows us to collect measurable data and identify patterns across a large group of respondents. This approach is suitable because we want to evaluate the level of each factor in a structured and objective manner. The target population for this study consists of public sector employees, particularly those who are involved in remote work arrangement. This is important because our research focuses especially on the public sector with relevance of organizations such as the National Archive of Malaysia. In terms of sampling, we selected a sample size of approximately 100 to 150 respondents. We used a perceived sampling technique, which means respondents are chosen based on specific criteria, such as having experience with remote work. This ensures that the data is collected relevant and reliable for our study. For data collection, we used a survey method where structured questionnaires were distributed to the selected respondents. The questionnaires included questions designed to measure each variable, such as how flexible their work arrangements are, how well they manage work-life balance, and the level of technological support they receive, and how effective communication is in their organization. Finally, the collected data was analyzed using descriptive analysis. This method helps us to summarize and interpret the data by identifying trends, averages, and overall patterns. Through this analysis, we were able to clearly understand the current level of each factor and how it relates to employee performance in work sector. Overall, this methodology allows us to gain a clear and structured understanding of the current situation of remote work among public sector employees.
So the research objective number 2 is to assess the relationship between work flexibility, work-life balance, technological support, and communication effectiveness toward employee performance during remote work. So the RQ2 is what is the relationship between work flexibility, work-life balance, technological support, and communication effectiveness towards employee performance. So the population and sampling. The population we took is the public sector employees, which is the NAM, National Archive of Malaysia, where the sample size was to 100 to 150 individuals. So the sampling technique we use is purposive sampling. So the data collection method is using by survey. The instruments is used by structured questionnaire, where this is related to numerical data. It's also a method of quantitatives. So the last one is data analysis, where we uses correlation analysis.
The third research methodology table is RO3 strategies ways to improve employee performance during remote work, and another one is how to improve employee performance during the remote work. So for the population and sampling, we have quantitative and qualitative. For the quantitative, the population is public sector employees, and the sample size is 100 to 150 individuals into the public sector employees. And for the sampling technique is they use purposive sampling. All right. So for the qualitative, the population is public sector employers in interview based, and for the internal FGD is A and M that head of government and so on. And for the external is MO Tech, head of policy, DIB, JM deputy chairman, and more. So the sample size they used is 5 to 10 individuals internal, and for the external is 3 individuals. So the sampling technique they use is purposive sampling. All right, let's look into deeper into quantitative. They use survey method, and the instrument is structured questionnaires. So they do this survey through questionnaires like in Google Docs form. Okay, Google Docs form and so on. And for the qualitative, the method they use is qualitative data collection, and the instrument is the interview and focus group discussion. So they when ask questions, they interview them, and from that kind of way they collect data. Okay, for quantitative, okay, for the quantitative, they use descriptive analysis, and for the qualitative, SWOT analysis, FGD, and thematic analysis interview. So that's the overall presentation from me. Okay.
Okay, thank you, madam. This is our presentation.